Welcome back to Soulful and Sober. I'm really excited about this episode because a lot of people are starting to ask more about purpose, living on purpose, and what that means. So I'm super excited to go over this today. Before we get started, if you haven't subscribed or rated this podcast, please do. It helps other people find me and helps the listeners. Purpose isn't always something you find. It's something you begin to recognize as you become more present, you trust yourself, and follow what feels meaningful one step at a time. So, this episode is really about your alcohol free journey, no matter where you're at, in trying to find more purpose. So, I want to explain what does it actually mean to live on purpose. You don't have to have everything figured out and what you're supposed to do. So I want you to kind of think about your journey. And before I actually go on to my points that I want you to take away from today, I also want to talk about my journey to finding more that fulfills me, because this is more about what fulfills you versus even finding purpose. For me, it had to start with me removing alcohol, or at least questioning my relationship with alcohol and going on this journey. I really found myself. You like have a book over here. I mean, for those that are looking at the video, I wouldn't have been able to understand my path in the beginning. So I'm sharing that because some of us can't move through this without experiencing something before it. So for me, it was just questioning, should I remove alcohol? Getting really sober curious. And that in itself took me on a completely different trajectory of my life. I do believe part of my purpose, not all my purpose, of course, you can have more than one purpose, most of us do, is really to do what I'm doing today, podcasting, helping other people. This is very meaningful. But if you would have told me this in the beginning of my journey, I wouldn't have understood you. So part of our journey is to take the learning, the healing, and all the things we're supposed to work on in our sober journey as the pathway to get to where we need to go. Because your journey is going to be different than mine. Maybe it's similar, maybe it's not. But realizing that the things that we need to act on are the things that are going to help us. So living on purpose, like I mentioned before, it can be more than one thing. I am a mom. I'm, I have friends. I have so much in my life. I don't feel like I have one purpose. But what we're talking about is this deep feeling that you feel like something is maybe missing in your life, right? It's not that you have no purpose at all. You probably have pets, maybe you have a family. You have a reason why you feel so aligned with those things, but there's still something that is missing and you can feel it. So living in a way that feels true to who you are. Sometimes we don't know that right away. Sometimes this whole journey is turning inward, and that could be hard. You need to start paying attention to what matters to you. Again, this doesn't get undone right away. Um, you know, uh, for me, when I started my sober journey, it was understanding why I people pleased and why I did what I did because I didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing. Right. And also, living on purpose is using your gifts and experiences in meaningful ways. Yes, you all have a gift and you have a purpose. So some people are like, I don't know what I'm good at. And I think we overthink things, which will get to my next point here in a second. Making choices that feel right in your body, not just choices that look good on paper. This is a hard one because as we go through this, we're going to, have to connect to ourselves and feeling connected to your life instead of simply going through the motions. Sometimes I feel like we just check boxes, right? So a lot of this is slowing down. And you can have a successful career, family, and a full life and still feel there is something you want to experience, create, or contribute. And we'll talk a little bit more about this too. And this will make more sense at the end of this episode. The pressure to find purpose can actually disconnect you from it. You know, if you are having constant thoughts about What am I supposed to be doing? Am I wasting my life? Should I be further along? Questions like, what's my 5-year plan? I used to say these things and then I realized who knows their 5-year plan? Even if I guessed my 5-year plan, I probably would guess to some degree wrong. And then what if we don't have it go that way? There are some things that are not meant to go the way we think they're meant to go. And then it's rigidity and all or nothing thinking. When we have that kind of thinking, it will cause your nervous system to start feeling unsafe and stressed out. And you'll actually cause yourself to not find purpose, to actually disconnect from yourself because those thoughts are very stressful. So sometimes even saying the word purpose isn't comfortable for people. They have to say, I want to find what I'm looking for. Um, yeah. So purpose doesn't come from forcing an answer. It emerges when we have enough space to actually hear ourselves, which really leads me to your body gives you information. And I want to just note that sometimes the right thing doesn't feel comfortable in your body. It's discernment that, and this takes practice, the discernment of what don't I want to do versus what am I scared of doing, but I want to do it. So I'll give you an example. So I thought about starting this podcast and then I told myself, well, I don't have time. Right. And I said, I don't have time. Therefore, I can't do this podcast. And that was a limiting belief because time is what I make of it. I can do this once a month. I can do this every 2 months. It is actually not that. It's a fear of what if this doesn't work? What if I do fail? So you see, when you're maybe questioning your own relationship with alcohol, what if I don't stay alcohol free? What if I can't find my purpose? And we end up going into overdrive, like I mentioned before. So I think it's getting curious of like, wow, I'm really asking myself a question. Whether you might be like, I want to write a book, or you might be like, I have no clue where to start, Chrissy. It's getting curious. And actually, I think you should be really proud of yourself. It's raising a standard. What does that mean? We raise a standard when we start asking ourselves questions like, is there more? Is there more to this? You're raising a standard that's so important. So get curious. And when you are more relaxed and in a more regulated state, we make different decisions. So it might just be the next thing, not necessarily the whole big goal. It could be, hey, let's stop drinking. Let's take a break from alcohol. I keep thinking about this thing. And I want to be honest with you guys. So before I started my Instagram and did all this stuff, I remember looking at people that were motivating on like Instagram. This was years ago. And I remember thinking, they're so brave. I want to do what they're doing. I was scared. But I also didn't know what I wanted to do either. I had a stint in Beachbody World, which was definitely not my purpose, definitely not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. But I think it was a glimpse of what I wanted to do. And I think the big thing is patience and trusting in the process. And I am not going to say that I'm the best at this, but it really does make a difference. In 2023, during a meditation, I saw myself going on stage and signing books. In October, I'm going to be taking the stage for my first keynote speech. And I'm so nervous, you guys, but I'm really excited, actually, more than I am nervous. But in 2023, I even saw this. I wrote it down. I was like, I don't have a book, at least a book on sobriety. I did write 2 kids' books, but I knew it wasn't going to be for the kids' books, but I didn't have all of it figured out. Now, do I freak out or have I freaked out before? Yes, but it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you to freak out about finding purpose and your meaning, because sometimes you get there when you get there. And, um, you know, I think it's understanding again that your transformation becomes a part of your purpose. If I didn't do what I did in my own sober journey, I wouldn't have come here. So I couldn't have predicted this, like I said. So the thing is that sometimes we turn pain into purpose. Also, I want to make note, in many, many, many different, I want to say like religions or sayings and beliefs of spiritual sages, they talk a lot about what we face, the hardships, as actually what we're meant to work on. And you find more purpose through those because you learn so much about yourself, right? So somebody that's, for example, goes into divorce coaching, right? Helping women get divorced because they struggled and they didn't know where to go and they felt really alone. And they're like, I feel a calling to help women with this because I remember how awful it was, right? And for me, I'm an alcohol-free coach, among other like types of coaching. And I want to help women specifically because I remember the shame it felt like. And I remember wondering what was wrong with me. And I know what's on the other side of removing alcohol. I know how good it can be. So I want to help people with that. I feel like this is very much my mission, right? What did you have to learn? What did you overcome? And then what do you even understand now that you couldn't have understood 5 years ago? Right? So, like, we sometimes think we're not that far along, but we've really come a long way. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you're either sober curious on your sober journey, maybe you're sober, maybe you're somewhere there, right? You're somewhere where you know that there's more that you want. So sometimes we don't recognize the purpose of an experience while you're inside of it. You understand it later. It's like one step at a time. It's so hard to like look at the next multiple years of your life. So sometimes it's really spending time in nature, taking walks, listening to yourself. If you have the nudge to get help, you guys, I'm going to be starting to open up a membership. I'm so excited. I can't even wait. I really feel aligned to this. And it took me even a while to figure out how I wanted to position myself um, with the resources to help you that made sense for my life, frankly. And so I think it was one nudge, right? I stopped drinking, but also there were so many learning points. So many times when I've outsourced things to ask everybody else's opinion versus looking inside me. And all these things, right? All these things that I've gone through, the hard stuff too. Believe me, not all of this is, always easy, but like I stopped dieting. I dealt with emotional eating, feeling shame around that. And I got help with that. I got a certificate to help people like, get freedom from food, just like alcohol. This, this is the things I had to go through. So A, I can help you, but B, can just keep proving to myself why I'm led on this alcohol-free journey over and over and over again. So instead of asking yourself, where am I supposed to be 5 years from now, which will cause probably mass chaos in your system? What is the next step that feels true to me, right? Write the post, take the class, start the podcast, have the conversation, try the hobby, apply for the opportunity, take a break from alcohol, come into my world, spend time with the person who inspires you. What feels good in your body? And you don't have to know every step of the way before you take the first step. Sometimes purpose is only visible in hindsight, but you're asking this for a reason because you, again, know there's something more out there for you. You're asking this question because you're smart, because you know that there's something that you're led to do. Does the life you're living match what matters to you? Alcohol didn't. Alcohol didn't. My family, my son, my health, my mental health, everything about me, alcohol wasn't in alignment. So sometimes it's looking at what's not in alignment with yourself. And then also aligned, people sometimes don't understand what that means. It's really feeling good in your body. Like when I think about this membership and when I think about this podcast, I'm like, damn, this feels good. Yes, limiting beliefs came in with everything because that sometimes can happen. You can have one part of you that's like, I really want to do this thing, but I'm scared. But I'm this. And honestly, it's sometimes these parts of ourselves that are so scared that if we do this thing, we'll fail. It's not going to be safe. And remember what happened when you were 5 or 6 or 7 or 8? Yeah, that didn't go well. So there's going to be parts of you that are still back in your childhood that are like, that's scary. You can't do this. And that's a whole nother topic of a podcast episode. But you have to understand when you do things that take you out of your comfort zone, there will be a part of you that's like, you can't do it. What if you fail? What will people think? And those things will stop you. And you'll be like, you're right. What will people think? Well, they think I have a problem. I can't write that book. I don't know how to do that thing. And then you won't do the thing that you want to do. Your heart wants to do it. So I think this is why this is important to get support, because sometimes we do want to do things, but we don't know how to like get unstuck, so to speak. So I want you to ask these questions. Is the way I'm living match the person I want to be? If you value your health, do your choices support your health? If you value creativity, is there a space in your life to create? If you value connection, are you nurturing your relationships or are you getting nurtured? If you value growth, are you allowing yourself to try something new and to dream big? If you value peace, what is constantly disrupting your peace? And if something is taking up so much physical, emotional, or mental space that we can't hear what we actually want, it's time to question that thing. Purpose to me is living a life that feels expansive. That does not mean it's perfect. That does not mean you'll never have stress. And that doesn't mean that you're going to have one step forward and one step back. Because the moment you decide that you want to do something different, do you want to better yourself, there's always going to be this part of you that's like, ooh, and not always that questions everything, but you're going to have things that happen because when you stop drinking and you go for the things you want in life and you push harder, it's going to be uncomfortable. And there's going to be some times you do need help and to put the brakes on and to, learn to trust yourself. So what I mean by going in your body this week, you can start by spending some time with yourself, whether it's taking a walk, sitting down and quiet. And what do things feel like in your body? Like, for example, like for me, sometimes when I think about, let's say you, okay, I'm gonna give you an example and like kind of this thing you can do to help you. So if you were thinking about someone you love and you care about, I want you to focus on your heart. And this is something called heart coherence, where you breathe in your heart, like, you pretend you're breathing in your heart and you let it go, like through your mouth, like, and then you think about someone you deeply care about, or your animals, or something that you really, really care about. I want you to feel it in your heart. That's what you feel like when you're in alignment and something feels really good to you. So you can do this like, you know, with conversations you've had with people or something you're trying to make decisions upon. You know, sometimes it feels really good to live an alcohol-free life. It doesn't feel really good not to live an alcohol-free life. But the thing is that sometimes our logical mind will take charge. Oh, like everybody's doing this. You can't do this. Or who are you going to be if you do this thing? And again, this can be for alcohol. This can be for doing something out of your comfort zone. And I want to put one more thing before we end this, is that sometimes the thing you want the most is the thing that scares you. And also you might have a part of yourself, like I mentioned before, that is terrified. I hope this has been helpful. This is something we're going to be talking about more in my membership. I'm going to link things below. And I'm really excited for us to really work together. And I know what it feels like to wake up, wonder what I did, question my relationship with alcohol. And I'm in the same cycle over and over and over again. And if you're sick of the cycle, you're sick of not feeling like the best version of yourself. When you answer some of those questions, you're like, yeah, alcohol is really it's not for me. And I want you to either come into the membership. I want you to either book a call with me so we can discuss what this would look like. And if anything, you book a call with me and we have an amazing session and you learn something about yourself. I want to thank you so much again for being here. And again, just rate this, subscribe, and I'm so happy that you're here.